Yeah.
Are you ready? We are live. So, okay. All right. We are going to start our Board of Education regular meeting for June, and it is. Oh, what's your name is down? That's good. Okay, we're going to call meeting order. Again, hey. All right, let's take roll.
Jason.
Here.
Cass Pleasant.
Here.
Jason Cradaville. Brian.
Yes.
Chief Slight Guys. Shannon Wilmot. Here.
Okay, so we're going to make a motion. We're going to ask for them to be excused.
Yes.
Chase had an emergency meeting for work that just came up on Friday night or something.
And he's out of town.
So he cannot make it. He's had flat out this morning. And Steve had a previously scheduled meeting that before he got elected. So it was something that we knew about from the very beginning. So I will make a motion that we excuse them, or however that works. We're gonna do two separate ones.
Make a motion to excuse Chase.
Okay. Perfect. So we'll make a motion. I'm making a motion to excuse Chase from the meeting. Any discussion?
No, you're all right. I don't know what happened.
We'll vote.
I agree.
Brian Locker.
Yes.
Shannon Wilmot.
Yes.
Jason Hart.
Yes.
Cassie Pleasant.
Yes. Okay. Now I will make a motion to excuse Steve from the meeting. Can I get a second?
Yes.
Thank you, Brian. Any discussion? Seeing none. Let's vote. It's okay. I was just waiting. How slow can I tell? Okay.
Shannon Wilmot.
Yes.
Jason Hart.
Yes.
Cassie Pleasant.
Yes.
Brian Locker.
Yes.
Okay. Now we will do the pledge.
Okay.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I will just mention that the Open Meetings Act poster,
Oh,
and the
sorry.
updated small one is in the middle. We will have new Open Meetings Act poster in July, once they get them published, but due to creative changes, there's a couple of tweaks there. And also we do have a quorum is a quorum, so we need a majority of a quorum to pass agenda items.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Approval. Oh, yes. Okay. 1.4 approval of the regular meeting agenda. Can I make a motion that we approve the meeting? Make a motion to approve the regular meeting agenda as presented. Can we get a second?
Yes.
Thank you, Jason. Any discussion? No. Let's vote.
Jason Hart.
Yes.
Cassie Pleasant.
Yes.
Brian Locker.
Yes.
Shannon Wilmot.
Yes.
Great. All right. Item 2. Welcome to guests in the public forum. Is there anybody that would like to address the board?
And we
No.
do.
But we do have Darren Hannon, is that right? Perfect. And he is with DLR. So he is one that is going to be talking to us a little bit about Israel DLR, I guess. Do we have to do the readable thing since he's on the agenda?
Not since he's on the agenda. We do typically limit to 5 minutes. So you're here to talk about an agenda item that we have later on. So therefore, we're going to give any board members who are not in our committee meeting an opportunity if they have any questions for you. But go ahead and introduce yourself and tell them your role here with DLR and what you came to talk to us about earlier.
Yeah, so I'm Darren Hannigan. I am with DLR Group. I'm one of our K-12 design architects. I do a lot of the pre-bond and planning, programming, visioning, along with Vanessa Schutte, who couldn't be here tonight, but so I was coming to address any comments or questions you might have about our proposal that we currently have about updating the facility plan that we did probably previous to last project. So our proposal is to kind of take that and continue on and bring that up to date and start talking about maybe the future facility plans.
In our community meeting, we talked a lot about some of the desires that we heard from members of our community over community engagement the past 2 or 3 years, and then some key areas we have identified as a board and admin team that probably is due for some renovation.
So we have a lot of information that we did from the last time, so we're not starting from scratch, but it's coming back through and relooking at your physical building assessments, going back through and making sure that everything's up to date. And then start planning for any of, program pieces you guys are thinking about. But through that visioning exercise, that usually helps uncover maybe some opportunities and some things to look at.
Perfect. Awesome. So this is action item that we'll take later. So you don't have to stick around. If you need to leave, that's just fine. I don't foresee it taking too terribly long until we get down to that. So
Yeah, so. I mean,
It's up to you.
We've
You'd
been
like to
here
stick around.
since 6, and I think the committee could probably answer a lot of the questions that anybody else has, so.
perfect.
If you want to stay, you can. It's gonna be riveting.
Yeah, oh yeah, so fun. Watch me stumble through it. It'll
No,
be
it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. You're already doing great. It's fine.
Yeah, perfect.
Well, if you
so
don't
yeah.
have any questions for me, I mean, I'm happy to stick around, but that's.
I guess as long as he is good with it,
Yeah.
I think.
You're fine.
Thank you
Okay.
so much for
Yeah.
sticking around. We appreciate your time
Yeah.
tonight, and we'll be in touch.
Yeah, thank you for giving us the opportunity.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
I'm looking
Perfect.
forward to it.
Okay, so we'll move into agenda item 3, the consent agenda. 3.1 is our minutes from the last board meeting, as well as the retreat is in there as well, the minutes on those as well.
Financials are attached. Anybody have any questions first on those minutes? Okay. Financials, I have to look and see, there are 4 things that changed, but I want to see if we got the paved away concrete bill in time to reattach the amended amount. So, there will be a change in one of the bills. I just had to see how it was presented on here. It was our concrete. After the concrete was finished. Yeah, so it's not on here right now. So we did have, the bill that we approved for, $44,200 for the concrete work. There were some issues with it at the end, so we'll talk with them, and they had a couple of different options, but the bill will be lower than that. So, since it was pre-approved, we will probably pay it at the hand payable in between this meeting and the next one, but we didn't have it in time to reattach it as rebuild to this 4th meeting. So just know that it will be lower than that amount, so it's definitely not to exceed what we approved. And we'll just probably see that as a hand payable next month. Questions about any other bills that anybody have for me on our list right now?
The one hand payable for Hy-Vee for a missed bill, what?
So somewhere a couple months back, apparently we had gotten something and a receipt was never turned in, and then we missed it on the actual billing.
Oh,
Because
okay.
we apparently didn't match it up thinking it would make its way.
God, okay,
So
okay.
I
Alright.
think it was some floral items that just.
Oh, graduation and stuff.
It sometimes
It might have
We
been
don't always
graduation,
get
but
it.
it might have been a parent's night or
Oh,
something.
yeah,
I
okay.
don't always get the bill.
Sometimes there's so many different departments at Hy-Vee, things get a little lost. So these, see that? Just
We got it all taken care of. So
perfect.
It just
Higher
was-
right, missing bills again.
that's another thing. So that is what our drug testing goes through for the drivers. And something changed and we not, some bills, it's all emailed to us, and somewhere down the line, they either didn't send it or it got lost
Sent to a wrong
somewhere.
email address. Sometimes when they change things over.
So part of that is the actual renewal, like it's the annual renewals.
Okay, I was saying, I'm like,
$100.
yeah, that's a lot.
And then it just was not getting to us.
Okay,
So.
so that's like multiple,
Multiple drug testing,
Things,
and I
okay.
think it's actually 2 renewals that were missed.
oh, okay. Cause I'm like, cause there's another one that was on here, correct, for drug testing, it was
Yes.
$38.
Yes.
So
So
that,
it-
and that's
It
more
really, yeah.
sense, okay. Okay, Brian, did you have anything that stuck?
Yeah.
out?
Archiving.
Oh, yeah, that was a lot. Well, it's a little bit.
So, that's. I'm sorry,
Gaggle.
It's Gaggle, yeah, so that's, an annual fee, it kind of manages all of the email accounts, that's staff email accounts, student email accounts, that, you know, it has several levels of protection, and it says email archiving, or I'm sorry, Gmail archiving, but it's a little bit more than that. It
Okay,
encompasses more than just the annual fee that we pay to Gaggle to protect and manage all of our Gmail accounts, because whether it says APS Eagles or not, all of those email addresses are Gmail accounts.
Okay.
So it's all students, all staff, anybody connected to the school.
right.
Okay.
Perfect. I didn't see anything in those. Does anybody else have any questions or items that they're like, what the heck is that?
Or a lot of, you'll notice for the next couple of months, a lot of renewals that will be coming into play, so.
And on activities, there's a few things that are yellow right now that were not before. A lot of times, students are fundraising in the summer or paying for the next year. There's camps and all of those things that come up. So as we collect fees and things like that and payments from students for some of their activities, those will reimburse. But like, for example, cheer hasn't been negative all year. Well, there's a whole bunch of new cheerleaders, and so they're getting all new equipment, everything like that. But all that gets ordered now, and then the girls have the summer basically to fundraise or find a way to pay for things. But you know, like camp had to get paid for, and their uniforms and things had to get paid for, so that won't be negative like when we end the year. But some of those look negative now just because there are some fundraising things that will happen during the summer that rebuild some of those accounts.
Okay. That sounds good.
Okay, and so the highlight we have there is, as part of our consent agenda, is our last hire. It's been in the works. It will be career education permitted teacher, which is a little bit different avenue to a teaching certificate, but certainly well qualified for the classes that he will be teaching. We're excited to bring him on board and get all of our. Yeah.
Perfect. Are there any other questions or discussion? No? I'll accept a motion from somebody.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you, Jason. A second.
Second.
Thank you, Brian. Any discussion? We'll vote.
Cassie Fluster,
I'm going to abstain with conflict.
Brian Walker,
Yes.
Aaron Wilmot, yes, Jason Mark.
Yes.
Perfect. All right, item 4, principal reports. Dr. Morgan, you are first.
This really is just the wrap up to our year. We were very busy at the end, like always. 6th grade had their business that they do. And they had a total profit there of $796.73, which was an increase from the year before. The kids were buying all the goodies. We used this money to fund their field trips in 6th grade and a portion of their outdoor ed. Then lots of celebration days all the way through there. We did this year, normally if you want, we do some bounce houses at the end of the year, because the power went out last year. We did bounce houses to start the year. So we finished the year with a silent disco, which was super fun.
Was not silent.
It was.
I was here that day.
It was
music
not
was
silent.
quiet.
The music was quiet. The kids
Yeah.
were not,
But it was cool to watch.
It was fun too, because they could have different songs playing too, so it's funny to watch them like try to pick out which kid dance into which song. But it was a good time, and we did some cotton candy and some kickball. Yeah, and then 6th grade graduation, 52 6th graders moving on up to middle school. Yay!
Gosh, that's crazy.
We're excited. We did our move up day with 6th to 7th grade, the 6th grade 7th graders. Then they have like a panel and they get to ask questions and things like that. And then we did our move up day with our kindergarten and 5th grade. They get to move up to the next grade and see what that grade looks like. Super fun. 3rd annual talent show. Lots of good stuff there. We had some singers. We had some parkour piece. We had some piano. It was fun. We had a lot of talented little kiddos. And then track and field day. The picture on there is of the teacher race that we had to start it. They more inflated us and did a 50 or, no, yeah, 50, I think a 50, 100. I think they did 100.
They run the
I
whole
don't
way.
know, no, maybe they did a 50.
I
I think because I said if they did 25, I figured it would be more than that. So yeah, it was a 50.
It was fun either way.
Yes, it was super fun. It was a great way to start it, celebrate some. And then our end of the year luncheon, did outside with these two grill masters. So that's good stuff. I think that's it. Just a fun-filled last month of school and controlled chaos.
That's awesome. Perfect. Well, thank you. It's always fun to see all that. All right, Mr. Shada, you are next, sir.
This time of year, you kind of get you get the end of the year activity reports. Each one of the activities took a time to put about a 1-page-ish review. What I'll probably highlight, I'll let you guys look through all the other ones I won't talk to you about. The activity participation, these are non-athletic. Our girls were up 6% this year, so 79% of our girls were involved in an activity this year, so that's awesome. Our boys were down 1%, so that's nothing worth noting in our school. Our side 1% is a kid or so. So really great numbers. When we talk to other schools, our size, things like that, we rank really high in terms of participation in activities, as you guys know, and you get to hear that all the time. So, so super great there. Probably something that is not in your activity we'll add next year is we had the unified, and that'll be more official next year, and so we'll add that to the activity side. We have quite a few kids that got to be involved to different, 3 different places I can think of: Bennington, Fort Calhoun, and Fontenelle, as activities with their peers and partners. So that'll be on board the activity side as well. So really great stuff there. Athletically, if you flip the page over, middle school, we have an 85% participation rate, which is outstanding. Last year we were 88. So let's say not too disappointed in an 85% of our middle school kids doing active athletics. So that's fantastic. We're up 2% to 72% of them were involved in athletics this year. Our boys were up to 69, and so once again, good numbers across the board. As you guys know, the research talks about the kids being involved in activities, athletic, what that does for them and what that structure builds. So really appreciate all of our staff, our sponsors and coaches for the time and effort. And I always put in there, I don't know if this number gets bigger and bigger every year, so thank you to Dr.
Because you
Lewis.
keep adding events, Mr.
Yeah, that's true. To Dr. Lewis and Dr. Morgan and Mr. Finkston, combined, we worked 319 events. And that I didn't go through and count Jackie's concerts and things like that either. So there's more there, folks. So I appreciate them helping us get there, because there's many nights that all 4 of us are going different places, and figuring out also that some of our kids are there too. So that's fun as well in the process. So thank you to our team. Any questions on this?
I do have one, which I don't know if it's necessarily it's not necessarily about kids, but staffing wise, because that, 5th page, talks about coaching and everything. Are all of the coaching positions filled? I do see like drama club and assistant drama, we're still looking for that.
Correct, yeah.
But is that everything else?
Mrs. Kaut that coached track for us is not coming. She took another job. So,
Yep.
We'll fill that quickly, and so Mr. Buckingham and I need to figure out what that looks like, and then figure out the two between middle school and high school what that does.
We did get speech built.
We did get
So
speech,
that's
so that was
good.
super
We did.
exciting. Yeah, so Mr. Lopez, the gentleman that works in Fremont and things like that. So we're excited about that again. So
Just a few.
just the drama.
Drama club.
We've been kind of getting hold of a few people that had some interest, and so we'll see.
When you say that, you're talking about BACFA, right? Not
Yes, ma'am.
drama club.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
Sorry.
Yeah. I was like, what is drama? Like, have we had a drama club?
That's just a term that's always been on the sheet. I could change it.
Oh, okay. Because I'm like, what's drama? When did we have that?
Yes,
Yeah.
Mrs. O'Connell's kids are getting a little bit older
Yes,
and have
okay.
lots of. So
Yeah.
she felt like it was a time for her to step back from that.
Got it.
And there's a really good chance we'll fill the assistant skills with our new shop teacher that we talked about. So maybe we'll have to talk with that gentleman. Any other questions? Good question.
I did see one on here, like assistant girls wrestling. My understanding, was it Madison Powell?
She's still staying on.
Oh, she is, okay,
Great,
great.
she's gonna coach, she's
Yeah.
just not.
Oh, good,
Yeah,
okay.
and so
I
we
was
have
like,
that spot where we lost the. We'll work to fill Mr. Locker as well.
got it. Cool, well, looks pretty darn good. Awesome. Cool. I'm a little disappointed in your pictures, but it's okay.
Oh, yeah, the.
Yeah, I was like, what is that?
Sorry, there's no good way to like upload all of them. So
I just
scanning
enjoy
them.
giving you a hard time. It's fine.
It's totally fair.
Yeah, so yeah, and there's lots of pages there. of
Yes,
stuff for you
lots and
guys
lots of
to
stuff.
look at. Yeah.
Yep,
It's,
perfect, cool. Okay, anybody, anything for Mr. Shaden? Okay, Mr. Kingston, your turn.
Whoosh. No pictures from this guy.
Oh,
Sorry.
you
Yeah, that's right. So, as you know, we have FBLA coming up at the end of the month for nationals. There's 29 students. They've done a phenomenal job. You all know Mrs. Coder. They need to raise some money, so she always finds ways to raise money. And kind of has made that happen for all of her kids that are going. We got summer school going. We're excited. We're got most of the kids right now, so that is great. For students who are taking advantage of that opportunity. Probably rolling this out with staff, students, community. There's a new legislative bill regarding cell phone policy, so that may affect what we do and what we include in our handbook coming up, but that gets approved in July, so just giving you a heads up on that, and I think maybe that's on first read, that policy.
It is first read, yeah, we'll adopt,
Yeah.
and
So.
Cass and I had a phone call about that today.
Yeah, that sounds good. Probably this time of, or in the June, we're getting a JAG update. That's that new class we had. So after we meet with Matt, we try to give you a Metro update every year. That's usually October, November-y, if I remember right. We'll try to get a JAG update for June. We had 39 students impacted. This is the one that is funded by the United Way of the Midlands. So it was a first year course. We had a middle school section, high school section, we had a couple of sections, but so we are growing from 39 to, I believe, 93 is where we're at right now for next year, which has allowed us to do a middle school section and then do a 9-10 and then in 11-12. So to separate some of the high school classes that way. We had 8 employer engagements, which is employers coming and speaking to the crew, over 80 hours of community service. Actually, we think we're way well above that. We had a couple of good connections. Our number one connection was Bruce Twins. We had a class that was tied to our TA time, 4th grade TA and lunch, so then we could go and stay, and if we, needed a few extra, that's really fun. So, and some of the skills we're working on, leadership, public speaking, teamwork, problem solving. So, we'll give you kind of an update on what that looks like. As far as it goes for us, we'll have to evaluate right now. There's not much cost to that. We'll just put it that way. So anyway, it's a program that's growing. And then we will talk about you probably looked at it in the board agenda, an early graduation request. So.
Great. Any questions for Mr. Kingston? Okay, item number 5, superintendent's report, Dr. Lewis.
So the first thing that I have for you is, so I touched the wrong thing, let me close that. Mr. Shada has been, so thank you, Mr. Shada, have a good
appreciate
rest of your evening. So there's a couple of different kinds of monitoring when we have federal programs that they come in. So they'll monitor your program, which means are you doing everything right, and they monitor you fiscally and make sure that you spent the money properly and you have the right trails and things like you've done financially, the right things that you're supposed to do with money. So we've already had the fiscal review for ESSER's monitoring. This year it was the program review for ESSER's monitoring. So remember that was first the CARES Act and then the CRISA Act, which is 2, and then ARP, which was 3. So, and these funds were due to be expended at the end of September 2024, but they've been out there since 2020. So they just came in and looked at our documentation and made sure that we were doing the things like posting our return to learn online where everybody could see it, and that we surveyed the public about the use of the ESSERs too, and determined that what we spent it on was what, what our people had indicated, our staff, the input and feedback on those kinds of things. We did have in place, and there were no findings or whatever they would call it. I don't know what they would call it because we didn't have any. So anyway, they said we did that all right. So there you go. So that should be the end of our fiscal and program monitoring for ESSERs. Just wanted to let you know that went well. They actually collected that documentation back in March from me, and so that your NASB and your reports are attached for you to take a look at those. A final legislative report. A lot of what you're seeing that were actually changes for us were, you'll see in policy updates later. I did attach this document that is 52 pages long. So you can go in and you can take a peek at that. A lot of things that we were concerned about, a lot of other people were concerned about. So a lot of the things that we thought maybe were coming, we managed to avoid. That would have been very difficult for us to, work with and maneuver. But a few things that are concerning were passed and adopted. So, like for example, the cell phone policy. I mean, that's not concerning, but it will just be a new way that we have to operate. So there were a couple of things budget-wise that really nothing happened. There were a couple of things like vote-wise. Nothing really happened. What would have been nice is if they would have passed some legislation to help schools regulate the use of marijuana, but that did not happen. So voters approved it, and they're trying to pass something that would help schools be able to regulate that, and that didn't happen. So just some curiosity things too, like how is this work now? Anyway, so you can go ahead and take a look at that document. I think I've a lot of information to you, like, hey, this is happening or this is not going to happen. So a lot of what did or did not happen, you've already received that information. But go ahead and take a look at that. I just attached it for you. It's always really interesting at the beginning of the year, and then by the end of a long session, I'm like, I don't want to read that again. The rest of my schedule, I don't have it attached here. For June or July, I have 12 vacation days left. To take. I was going to take one of them last Friday, but that did not happen. So I will, this Friday, I will be off, and then the next 2 weeks, that will be up to 11 days. And then I will probably take June 30th off as well too, which is Monday. Really, I was planning on being back by then, but I might take that one off too. So just so you know, and then I'll have a final vlog for the 24-25 year for you guys to take a look at. Sounds good. And then I just attached here just a one picture. Been talking a lot about moving some things out of the activities fund and into general funds. So Mr. Shada and I sat down, and these are changes that would be no surprise. So I looked at what we had budgeted in 24-25, and then you can see the increase of what is coming out of athletics and going into general fund. I tried to make some notes here. At the bottom, so $8,600 of the $98,000 was requested for field maintenance and things like that Mr. Shada had budgeted previously in athletics. Will be not part of athletics supplemental, but I will build them back into maintenance of grounds. It's like overseeding on the football fields and things like that. And then we already talked about Huddle, or it's called Agile Sports. That's $9,200. So those two things right there are like $18,000, honestly. So it's Agile Sports, and then that a little bit of athletic grounds upkeep that was coming out of the athletics, which I put back in. I took a look at all of the expense reports, then taking out those big things, what should really be left is like expenses running our own tournaments and officials and things like that. A lot of that comes back and is paid for with like entry fees and things like that.
Mhm.
So really that takes anything that probably shouldn't have been in that activities fund and puts it back into the general fund. But we do anticipate the cost of officials is going to go up.
That's the general supplies increase?
Nope. Nope. General supplies increase is the, uniform cycle things. Sorry,
The track time system.
track timing stuff, because we had under budgeted there.
Okay, so we're potentially taking out
I'm gonna back up.
over
fast. I'm gonna say
26,000?
So I'm gonna back up, I'm sorry. In the general supplies, that's where you're gonna find that huddle as well. We did take a couple of things out because the uniforms are cheaper because of the cycle. So
Okay.
track was a little bit cheaper than baseball was last year, for example. So huddle's moving into the general supplies there, that $9,200, but the uniforms were a little bit less. Does that make sense? So that's not a $9,000 increase in general supplies, but the 9,000. It's a little spreadsheet I've got.
So this right here is what we did last year. Yeah, and that's what we're looking at for next year, correct?
Yes,
That's an increase.
$50,000, yeah,
But we're talking about, and that's just for the athletic department.
yes.
Okay, but we're talked about moving $26,700 from the athletics to the general.
A total of $18,100 is shifting out. These are
Okay,
not,
so it's
these are not
the
in addition.
68
Yeah, no,
plus
these,
the 18. Okay.
these are not in addition, these are just explanations. So all of this increase from here to here,
Uh-huh.
8,600 is going to be in grounds. I put it in this number right here,
Yeah.
but it's not captured up here. Okay, so that's going to be in buildings and grounds. It's just not a line item here because it doesn't belong.
Okay.
Here. Does that make sense?
I mean,
And then a
Yes and
grand
no.
total of 1,800. Yeah, so we should not have been for overseeding of the football.
yeah, I
field
get
out
that,
of
but our
activities.
athletic
Let's see when you.
budget is still increasing?
Not in activities. We will be spending less out of the activities fund and more, yes, in athletic supplemental, because of,
Okay.
Okay.
Because of the reseeding
well,
and the upkeep of grounds, which I
yes,
understand.
upkeep of grounds.
Yes.
So, like, I'm ignore this for a moment. These
Yes.
3 items here do not equate this increase here
Okay.
of $16,000.
They're 77, they're
It's
80,
plus the 8,600.
they're 89,000 there.
So it's this plus the 8,600, yeah, which is causing this increase down here, okay?
Is anybody else following this?
But it's tricky
Literally
because we
just
haven't
kept
done this
talking to us.
comparison before.
I
Yes.
don't get it, is the big thing. I don't get it. I'm sorry, I don't
I highlighted
understand.
Well, see, them three numbers don't add up to 85,000.
8910, what, 89.1,
98.
sorry.
No.
No, they don't add up to that.
These
No,
3
they
I
don't.
don't
So
have
the-
on my
the
spreadsheet,
three numbers that she has there, those 3 totals,
plus the 8,600.
the 8,600 is actually gonna be in grounds.
Okay.
Yes.
So she's just saying that 98,000 is what's gonna be budgeted towards athletics. It's not necessarily those 3 numbers added together.
Got it. So
Thank you.
last year, we budgeted for athletics, 83,000.
Yes.
This year, we're budgeting for athletics, 98,000.
Here's what I want you to do is ignore the 8,600 and this 98,000.
Got it, I got that, I'll just ignore that, that's fine. But we're still increasing our athletic budget, we're
Yes.
still increasing that.
Yes, because we're moving things out of the activity and into, this is the general fund athletic supplemental. This is what
Okay.
I'm seeing in front of you.
Are we voting on this today?
But it still's going up 50,000.
Yeah,
This is not about.
that's what I
Yes.
don't quite get. We'll just have to keep looking, go back and look at this, because if no one, are you catching
Here's,
this?
maybe I'm presenting this wrong. I'm presenting
Yeah.
this. This is not a
I'm
good
just
way
waiting
for
for
me
it
to
to make
present it.
Yeah, me too. Okay,
It's not a good way for me to present it. I
It's-
should have put, not made that 98,100. I was just, I should have bumped
but
that.
that is,
I
but no,
should have
that's
added
okay,
the
that
grounds.
is,
But that's
should add the
actual,
grounds in.
that's a number that,
No, but I should have showed that in buildings and grounds, not in this little section here.
okay. So, but last
but
year,
at it, so
that's,
what you're saying is the 83,035
That's
was what we did last year.
Total, but that was out of all of it.
No, that was just on the athletic supplemental, so that was our trainer, that was our uniforms, that was,
Overseeding,
no, it's not.
so you take the 83 plus whatever, the 8,600, and then we're closer.
Take, yes, so the difference here,
I mean, I'm just-
83,000 to
whatever.
98,000, but drop 8,600 off of this, so just say that's, let's just round it and say that's
7,000.
That's 89,600, right? So then we're really only increasing, in this part of the budget, we're increasing about $6,000 there.
Okay.
But in the 92 is coming over, but we're budgeting less for uniforms because it's like time for track. To get uniforms, which is a lot cheaper than buying a baseball uniform.
So it went up 10% from last year.
Roughly,
Okay,
roughly. Yep.
now I get it.
I should not have put the 98. I should have put another,
I think
I
that's
should have
what's
left that out and I was just trying to make it clear what was coming out of the activities fund and was coming into general fund, but I shouldn't have put it on that line. I thought the C note would make it didn't.
You get it now, Cass?
I mean, I think I'm following, but as long as someone else is following,
Yes. So this 98,000, you will
Okay.
see some of it in athletic
The
supplemental.
only place
and
up
you'll see
there
some of
that's
it in
up
buildings
is
and
in
grounds.
general.
so the
supplies.
general
Here's the
supplies,
whole
which
thing.
makes sense, is because we're transferring from general supplies. So
Yes.
last year, we spent 36.5, what we budgeted. So we're transferring from athletic, the track timing system and the uniforms from
Track timing
that.
system was in
to-
there before.
So we're
track timing.
transferring from that, we're paying for that, we're planning to pay for that this next year out of the general, which is why there's an increase of whatever the heck that is, up to 43,000, correct?
Pretty close.
Mhm.
Uniforms and the track timing system always came out of here, just out of my budget. So these two things right there always came out of this. Now included in there is the huddle, which is $9,200.
Okay.
Okay, but the cost of uniforms is less. So yes, it's going up, but not as much as it
So
could.
essentially, those have always been paid out of this fund.
Yes.
We're just taking $7,000 worth of purchases out of the athletic fund
Uh-huh.
because
Put them
it's
in here.
being used more for the district. And it's
Uh-huh.
going into that general supplies.
Got it. Okay.
It will be more clear when we're having budget workshops.
Great.
In July and August.
Clear as mud.
And it will be more clear in our finance meetings. So, because when you actually see then the budget. then
Yeah.
That, just like here, this number will be, I'm sorry, I'm pointing, you can't see that. I'm pointing at my computer screen.
Yes.
That does not show on the monitor record, but this
Okay.
98,000 number will not be 98,000, it'll be like 89,600, because that 8,600 will be in buildings and grounds.
So you moved
So,
someplace
yeah.
else.
Okay, it will be someplace else.
Okay.
Goodness gracious, I just knew that we were having lots of conversations about what was coming up, activities to try and, stop the bleed, and where we were going to move it over, because technically that's probably where it should be paid.
Okay. We're
So-
gonna keep paying close attention to that because obviously it's a
Yes.
very big concern for everybody, not just people on board. Okay, great. Anybody else have any questions?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I made that like more confusing than it really needed to be.
It's
My
okay.
apologies.
At
It
least
made
we
super
touched on
sense.
it. and
Made a lot of
we'll-
sense when I put it together.
That's okay. All right. Everybody okay with superintendent's report? Yep, all right. Item 6, committee and representative reports. Buildings and grounds and transportation met before with DLR. Who would like to?
And this is our,
That
so we
was
met
it.
on DLR and we also met on
On
transportation.
transportation, yes, perfect.
I'll just kick us off here. Darren came from DLR to tell us a little bit more in depth about the engagement level and what we'll receive for that money. We'll kind of start some groundwork. There's some things that will be easier for them to do when we don't have people here, and there'll be some things that they can't do until people are here. So I'm gonna let Shannon
Got it.
and Jason talk a little bit about that as well.
So we just talked about improving the shop and maybe a wrestling room that now makes sense to use as a storm shelter also, but the price is gonna be crazy, but we might have to do it anyway.
Oh,
Or,
But, I mean, these are just
Not
some options that
tomorrow,
we talked
yes.
about. We know there's some areas that need renovation. We know that there's some desire among the community to see like some additions like that happen. So
Mhm.
DLR then will come back and do. So the good thing about using DLR again is that they have more information from, from
Previous
7 years
projects.
ago to actually completing the addition 4 years ago. So there's a lot of groundwork that they don't have to do that
Mhm.
they might do with the school that they had just engaged with before.
Mhm.
So and they kind of have a process that they go through. What we talked about was timeline of maybe having all of those interviews and preliminary and what they're thinking and what we're thinking, kind of some things completed to discuss with the board by December. So then we can talk about those at the community engagement meeting well in January.
Okay.
Again, so that's kind of the timeline that we were, but I'll come in and get started just about right away. Looking at facilities and looking at the areas that need some attention, knowing what, they're working with and trying to determine whether or not a renovation is gonna trigger a storm shelter requirement versus an add-on, those kinds of things. And some new
So was that
federal-
something that he brought up when he was here, the storm thing? Okay, so that's something that's already on their radar.
Yes, yep.
Because of the school our size and the different areas and everything. Okay.
What did he say? Scrivener was doing that now?
Yes,
And-
Snyder's doing a project,
So,
yeah.
Okay. Okay, well, then that's good to know about. Cool.
And transportation wise,
Yes.
Jen attended the transportation conference last Friday, or was it 2 Fridays? Well, I think 2 Fridays.
I think it was 2 Fridays ago.
And learned some information. We've been talking about the use of vans and driver's licensing, bus driver license. I'm gonna kind of let her talk a little bit. That was part of that community meeting as well.
So basically the requirements to become a bus driver have not changed, so those are still all the same. But they did pass the requirement of the usage of what type of vans can transport students. Obviously, the federal government says the bus transportation is a bus, so they are, it's slowly been progressing over the years, the actual, how they've changed the requirements for vans. The new van requirement will be, the way the van is labeled, the way it's manufactured. You can only have 8 students in the back and 2 people up front, meaning that the total bus or the total van capacity is 10. But also the label in the van has to say a multi-purpose vehicle or sedan, not bus or not school bus.
Yeah.
So most vans now say bus, not school bus, which is how they've always been manufactured.
So like the big ones.
Yes, the big ones.
Yes.
The
But like the minivans obviously would be,
Right.
are fine.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
But the 12 passenger vans, obviously, they can't even use
So
those
going
anymore.
forward,
We have
once,
one that we can use.
going forward, once they set the date, we can no longer use those vans, which there is gonna be a sunset period, we just don't know what the actual date will be.
Mhm.
They're talking spring. Next spring, that law will go into effect for the state of Nebraska, which means that we would no longer be able to use those vans to transport students. There was teachers in there, if you want to take them, that's all just fine.
Or board members.
Okay.
So we will have to no longer use those vans to transport students, meaning students, whether that is going to some sort of activity like a book, or the books, or sporting activity. So if you're transporting any sort of sport, you would not be able to use those vans because they're not labeled correctly. Going forward, we would have to purchase a new van,
Mhm.
and it could not be, the van can be manufactured as a 12-passenger van.
Uh-huh.
Before we take possession of the van, we would have to have it modified.
Okay.
A new van. We cannot purchase any more used vans and have them modified. It has to be a new vehicle.
Can we modify our own?
No.
Okay.
So we'd have to purchase, whether it's already a 10-passenger van or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But then it has to be modified by a company that actually is certified to do those modifications, and that label has to read exactly
Multi-purpose.
that multi-purpose vehicle with 8 and 2 on the label. That's the
Okay.
That's the new regulation.
So we
All
don't
right.
have the date yet. There's a couple we know, there's a couple vans in our fleet that we know we can't use at all right now. But we should still be able to use several of them through the
Okay.
date they tell us that you can't use them anymore.
Okay.
I mean, there's one that we'll be able to use after that date.
Yes.
So, and those are the large vans. Minivans will still be allowable, buses clearly will still be allowable. The thing that they've changed with anybody that's transporting students, whether it's a minivan or a car or a bus, is the pre-trip inspection.
Yes, that also has changed. All of the pre-trip requirements of vans, buses, it's all, they're making it all the same. So
So you
we had to do a pre-trip inspection already, but it can no longer be a modified downsize, like the vans were just check vans. It is a form,
7 or 8 pages long.
that is basically like,
That has to be done, so if Mrs. Dr. Morgan
if Dr.
is
Morgan
gonna
takes
take,
7 students to a volleyball game, she has to do the pre-trip inspection.
And then you said, is it, if it
Everyone-
sits for an hour?
And if
you
it's
have
set
to
for
do
an
it
hour, she needs to do it again before she comes home.
and all our bus drivers are doing that already?
No.
This is a new thing.
The
Bus
bus,
drivers
the
are
bus,
van
the
drivers
bus
now.
is more, yes, like, that's,
Yes, in a different
that
way.
is more, yes.
Okay.
This is now what it is, it's all.
Even in a minivan
Student
Yeah.
transport.
or a car,
Doesn't
or
matter.
whatever.
Okay.
So I'm gonna miss that game, everything will just go out and start.
Kind
Yeah,
of.
no kidding.
I mean, it's not very good.
So, yes,
So I
it's
guess-
just lots of,
I think we should be thinking about it sooner than later, while our vans might have a little bit of resale.
Getting rid of those vans, because if we know they're not able to be used, we need to get rid of them.
There's a couple that we know now, we'll try and get rid of those anyway.
And you guys know.
so I guess just.
Sure you know how to get rid of them.
Next few months of meetings, we'll probably be talking about pricing and.
Yeah, which is what
What
we
is
kind
next
of
step?
anticipated.
And I want to reiterate, it used to be allowable to buy a used van and modify it, and they weren't concerned about the label. So the fact that we have vans, that's how they were purchased, was okay.
the
It used to
label
be
was-
okay to do that.
The modified label was the numbers, actual passengers in the van, because the wheelbase of a 15-passenger van and a 12-passenger van are the same. It's how you modified it to meet the regulations of only being able to carry 12 students.
Yeah.
Now it's not necessarily, it is the numbers, but it's the actual classification of the van, which most of them are classified bus, not school bus. That's what they want, that needs
That
to,
can't happen.
yes, that's
Okay.
the portion that they are making go away.
Got it. Okay. Well, that sounds like it was super necessary.
It was fun.
Wow.
It's-
Okay,
it's just
so-
going to hurt a lot of schools on.
Yeah, from district level, are we gonna have, I mean, I'm sorry, first off, because that sounds like a heck of a deal for you. Could you utilize the vans for volleyball a lot, and I think softball a lot too, just because they are smaller groups. So that's gonna have to be a thing, if those groups would still like to use those, that coach, whoever is driving, is gonna have to do all of these checks.
Yeah, and
Every
actually,
man that goes out with students and is going forward is going to have to do this
Do
check,
this
no
check.
matter,
Mr. Finkston hopping in a van with 2 kids to take to Lincoln to go be interviewed for the ag thing, I mean, that would
That would
require
still
a
have to
pre-trip
be-
inspection, yeah.
Because they're students.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, how is this going to, I mean, financially affect the district? I mean, obviously with those buses that are the vans that we're going to have to potentially look into purchasing.
so hopefully the easiest solution could be, we get a couple more bus drivers.
Yeah.
So that we can send them on buses.
Yes.
Obviously that is the most cost effective
Mm-hmm,
plan.
mm-hmm.
Are we going to still need vans? Yes.
Yep.
You've got the smaller groups of 7 or 10 that go back. Obviously, it's not cost effective to send a bus driver.
Yeah.
On those things.
Absolutely.
So we do need to have, depending on how many sponsors go, whether they take a bigger van or too many vans or how many drivers are available, that's where you're gonna run into, is it feasible and what we make work? So discussion here is gonna look like, who can go? Are we gonna have to limit X amount of kids can only go because we can only take a minivan because there's only one person that can drive? So, 6 kids can go.
Or even like, are we sending one bus to this event? And yeah, maybe managers
Right.
don't go
So-
because we can.
Because of
now,
space.
Because now we can't take 2 vans with managers.
It's just-
Unless you want 3 people doing pre and post trip inspections,
Yeah.
just to.
what it looks like for us and each team and
So it's gonna be, I mean, we're not really gonna be able to even guess how this is gonna affect the district financially, whether it's gonna be requiring purchases or whatever, until we really get into next spring, when we have to make changes.
Well, and we do,
and
yeah,
hopefully it'll be in the spring. I mean, hopefully it hold off. So
Okay.
and we did
Well-
district, we did look at the transportation budget last month when we approved that, and you saw that, I mean, the bus that we're purchasing now will not be paid for, but we will take the cost of that bus and put it in depreciation, so technically we'll be paying it out of funds that were set aside from this budget year. So we should still have twice the budget amount, which I was kind of building in, thinking maybe this was gonna happen anyway, into transportation for next year, for whatever we have to do to deal with this situation. That is buying some 10 passengers, having them modified, or buying 3 more minis, or figuring out what the heck we're doing.
Yeah, okay. Well, I guess we'll watch. Anybody else have any questions on
Yeah.
that?
That was the silent clap that you do for show choir.
Yeah. Good. Okay, so transportation obviously is gonna be coming back, buildings and grounds, that's gonna be continual discussion then with them, with DLR. Obviously, they have said that they're anticipating getting something back to us in December. But in the meantime, obviously, there's still things that have to be done around here with buildings and grounds. So is that still gonna be like how frequent is that meeting, or are we
With
going?
buildings and grounds.
Yeah,
we've
just going
met,
through things.
Probably, we've met once a month, maybe the past 3 months.
Okay, so that's still probably gonna continue to,
Yeah, we don't always meet that often once
Yeah.
some are through, but now that DLR is coming through again.
it'll probably
And
still be.
again, if they've done a survey and they just want to talk to the board, might not need to have like a committee meeting beforehand.
Yeah.
You know.
Because even with this engagement that we're getting into with DOR, there's obviously still some things that we'll have to keep addressing in different departments. So I mean, that's still gonna be a good focus on until we.
Yeah, we're
Figure out
not
an
gonna ignore the rest of the facilities.
Yeah, good, that's good. We are still meeting on things before December.
Yes, yeah.
Perfect. All right, professional development sharing.
Yeah, I just kept that on there because Jackie, Aaron, Sarah, and I attended a workshop to prepare for our external visits. So we'll just kind of, we're switching to the Nebraska Department of Education frameworks to give us some statistics on the amount of schools that have transitioned from Cognia to frameworks over the year, and that was significant. There's very few schools using Cognia anymore, and it's gradually gone, so.
Okay. Was there any? What?
Part of it is the Monday and Tuesday before, I think,
Yep.
Okay.
and we'll have some meetings and things like that set up, and they may talk to board members and things.
They're coming here?
Huh?
Oh, okay.
There's
Yeah,
an
the
external
external
meeting.
team, yep.
They come here, okay.
I probably really calm.
Yeah, that's gonna be a good time.
That week, yeah.
Be all right.
It's gonna be a great time. They actually wanted us to schedule it like earlier and not wait until the spring, and they liked the fact that we were doing it at that time. I mean, we'll see how it goes. So we learned a lot. I think I came away feeling like, we've been collecting a lot of data, especially perceptual surveys and things like that the past couple of years. So I think we're going to be in great shape on that. It'll just be gathering the kind of student data and goal-based data that they want to see, and just getting our committees rolling on collecting those documents and artifacts and getting them ready to share with the team. So right now it's just
Fun.
pulling it all together. Yeah. Finalizing a couple of things. We'll probably ask for a little bit more staff feedback, board feedback, community feedback on like the 4 mission statements that came out of our strategic planning process. You know, kind of talk about that a little bit, but is that kind of a part of it as well?
Awesome.
I felt like, I came away feeling like, we're in pretty good shape.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, but as far as, just preparing for COVID.
Cool. All right. Item 7, unfinished business. We have none. Item 8, new business. 8.1 is revision or review of policies, excuse me. These are all policies that we've had. We're just reviewing them.
Yes.
Um,
This is just on-cycle policy revisions. The ones that are being changed were changed due to legislation, and they have been pulled out of this list, and they will be action item 8.6 with the new policy ones that will require 2 readings. So these are just, have not been reviewed or changed. They just need to be reviewed and refined.
Awesome. So nothing on these is there anything in there that you want to point out or that has been changed or needs to be changed? Nothing on any of these ones?
Some of these are new since I've been here. I mean, we developed the class size limit and reduction one. That's what it tells us where to split. And we've revised the admission and foreign exchange student one since I've been here. But we approved those when we revised them.
Okay. Item 8.2 is an action item. Discuss, consider, and take necessary action to approve the camera system upgrade.
So we have 2 proposals to look at here. They're a little bit different. So total fire and safety is the first proposal that we had. I'll back up a little bit. So we can pay for these with QC funds now, right? So we've talked about that for a little bit. So we have plenty of money to go and to take care of this upgrade. So total fire and safety, we have used with our camera systems once I've been here, so at least 6 years. Came through the building. He's got several cameras that are really good cameras that are digital, IP cameras that have been updated recently. So the proposal with total safety for $51,826, I'm going to run down with you, includes leaving 28 cameras that are already on site and using those, and 42 total new cameras. So we will have a total of 70 cameras to get the coverage that we're looking for. There will be no recurring annual license fees, just license fees for the new cameras. And then that also upgrades our storage. Like right now, we're able to record about 8 continuous days of camera feed. This upgrades our that capacity to closer to 20 to 30 days with that, the different terabytes that we've upgraded that to. It's up to 18 terabytes of surveillance. They also said we could, with some of these cameras, now adjust some settings so that we're only recording at certain times or when motion sets them off. So we're not recording, 18 hours of a
They're not
dark hallway.
wasting storage space.
Yeah, and wasting storage space on that. So that's the bid. So again, that's 70 total cameras, all the coverage that we're looking for. 42 of those are new, and 28 are the IP cameras that have recently been upgraded. That's who we currently use. The second bid is from Beyond Communication. That is a Fremont company as well. So the proposal here would basically, because they weren't their cameras that they installed in the first place, would basically be all new cameras. But due to the cameras that they would install would be basically the same coverage. So it would be 57 total cameras compared to 70 total cameras there, but the ones that they use would be like the 360 ones where you get coverage in multiple directions. So the coverage would look the same. When we got done, it's more brand new cameras, but fewer cameras total, if that makes sense. Again, it's it would also include new servers for the cameras. The total fire and safety is not new servers, it's just upgrading the terabytes of storage on that. So basically, though, the same thing. You can set them to record only when they were triggered by motion, and it would probably get us in a budget there is $59,638. And so they're about $8,000 apart. And again, that's all new cameras and new server. And the first one is 42 new cameras, and then upgrading the server with the terabytes of storage. So those are the two bids for you guys to talk about and consider.
Well, the one that's cheaper has the licenses included, the other one does not.
It's just an
There is no annual license fee for either one of them. They're just the initial licenses. So
Oh, okay.
yes,
I didn't know what that,
it's a no license fees is like the recurring. Like you don't have to pay a license fee every year. You used to have to pay a license fee every year. There's no license fees that recur year after year on either one of those.
With these systems, how, I didn't see what, like obviously the previous one was a Vivotech, with the first one,
Yes.
total fire and security.
Yeah.
Does it say, the second one, does it say what brand of cameras they're looking
So
at?
the brand is that like underneath the 360 plus 180 degree cameras where it says IPEL, that is the brand of this camera.
So it's just a number?
I believe. That, I thought I had written that on my notes here, but yeah, it's like the first three or the first four numbers are the ones that, I'm sorry, not numbers, but letters. Those
Yeah.
are the, I believe, if I understood it correctly, Dan would be better at asking that, but the fixed cameras are just a little bit different with their IP, it's an IP camera. IP is the brand, so the IPA, PG, IPFX,
Okay,
IPELs, that's the brand.
the IP is the brand,
Yeah.
okay. Did, you said, Dan went through these, does he, like, camera wise, both great quality cameras, is there any difference on, any concern there on anything?
No, it's just a different brand. It's just, and again, just different, so
Different people, different brands.
different,
Different,
yeah,
yeah.
it's just the preferred brand that they use, they each are going to go to cameras that they prefer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Either one.
Are you happy with
And-
Total Fire or not?
Yeah, we've been happy with them.
Is
They're
there,
responsive to our needs and.
is there a concern of having to replace the server because we're upgrading it? Like, is that, how long do those, no idea how long those last, or
I
like,
don't think that Dan has any concerns about that particular server, other than, a new server is a new server,
Yeah.
it costs more, but.
I just don't know
mean,
how long they last, kind of thing, like, is if we're just updating the one we have versus getting a new one,
getting the new
is that a
server.
really big expense? I don't,
Um,
so that's one of the
well,
things that
this
I'm
one
like,
does not have it, so let me look and see the network and equipment, yeah, that's not.
'cause I mean, on the second bid, he has the breakdown of all the different things, but he doesn't have those, like, what those cost. So that's
Neither
why
one
I
of
was
the
wondering,
bids- Yeah, neither one of the bids
Yeah.
actually have the breakdown of what those specific things cost, so
Yeah.
I don't know
Yep.
specifically how much of that is the server or
Okay.
not, but.
does anybody else have any questions or any feelings one or the other? Anybody? Any other questions? So speaking from experience, I've used these Vivotech, we use them for work as well. They're great cameras, the different people, they're super easy to work with. I don't know what these other ones are, I don't know if that matters, I'm not a tech person.
So, I will say, like Dan knows both of these people that.
Yeah.
And they had the other ones at, like his former employers. He
Yeah.
said both cameras
Both are
fine.
good, yeah. I'm also kind of I personally am leaning more towards using Total Fire and Security. because it's someone that we have a relationship with. They're, upgrading our things. They're obviously, both of them are local, but they already have a feel for our building. What's up with us as well. So,
One is just as local as the other, but
yeah,
yes,
I mean, they're both, pretty close. It makes sense why the other one's more expensive because they're completely taking out stuff that we have and completely redoing everything.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I really have like a strong feeling one way or the other which one we use. Does anybody else? I also think of being a good steward of the funds. I think we should go with total fire and security because why should we spend more just to have brand new things when we can add on and spend less money and the funds more wisely is how I feel into it.
Dave is a really good friend of mine, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna abstain from the vote.
Okay,
So I'm not weighing in.
okay. Thank you.
I appreciate you not weighing in. I don't know that you have, like a conflict there that would cause you to abstain from the vote, just for the record, because, because
It would have to
the quorum
be-
is small today, so I just wanna make sure that we,
Well,
like,
then
you're not,
I'll-
you won't benefit financially
No, for sure.
from this vote,
Right.
so you wouldn't have really, like that.
But I'm not gonna weigh in.
Okay,
So
That, I understand.
Okay.
Thank you, I understand.
okay. Well, guys, do you have anything to add?
Nope.
All right, well, I'm going to make a motion to approve the camera system upgrade with total fire and security. Is that the total number? Yeah, okay. For the amount of, $51,826.54 to be paid from the QC Puff Fund.
51,000.
826.54.
Okay, sorry, my.
You're good. And this bid, I did just notice that his bid is from May. It's still good, correct?
Yes.
Okay, I feel like we talked about that.
Yeah, and I told him, and because he got it to us in May, but I knew we were going to need a second bid on that. So
Yeah.
I told him, hey, it will be June before we vote. And he said,
Okay.
that's fine.
Okay, perfect. All right, I made a motion. Would anyone second? Perfect, thank you, Jason. Any further discussion? Nope, let's vote.
Brian Locker,
Yes.
Shannon Moore, Jason Hart,
Yes.
Cassie Foster.
Yes. Okay. Item 8.3. Discuss, consider taking necessary action to approve iReady as the district's academic screener and intervention tool. Talked about last month or
Yeah.
last week, board retreat. We talked about this. Let's go with that.
Talked about this a couple of different times, probably.
Yes.
We talked about it in, yeah, when I believe when Mrs. Wolf was doing, some
Curriculum and
curriculum
whatnot.
reporting and
Yes.
some different things like that.
Okay, yes, and this was the 4th grade
It was.
piloted.
Yeah.
This, and they saw great success with it, which was awesome. Tasha put in a lot of work to go in and, talk to this company, trying to nail down the price because the initial price was very high. And she got that, she did amazing work with that. We then asked, her to kind of take back to them to see if we could lock in the lower price for a longer term than just 1 year, because we were concerned with a big jump the following years. They agreed to a 3-year contract. So that is what we have here is this 3-year contract for all those things itemized. So the total of the 3-year contract is $45,518. Now it is a 3-year contract, but they are requiring that we pay all of it at once. That was one of the things that we asked was, hey, can you take this and see if we can pay every year or how we need to pay that? We do have to pay it all up front, but it locks us in for 3 years. So it's more upfront costs, but it'll be, who knows what they might have jumped it to
Right.
next year. So there's that.
And I just want to say that this replaces an assessment system, it replaces Fastbridge for assessments, it replaces like IXL and different interventions that we use. It gives us really good data, and it's not just an assessment tool. It is also an intervention tool, and it encompasses,
It was a lot. I mean,
yeah,
it
a lot
was
more than
rave reviews
Fastbridge.
from the 4th grade, which has been an area, like a class that has just struggled from COVID. I mean, and they absolutely loved it. Saw huge growth and their fourth graders. So, yeah, and they thought it was a great program. It's one of those that it is more than just one group too. It's remind me of who it all covers.
This
It's
is K through 8,
K through 8, yes, okay.
and this is math and reading.
So it covers a lot of different areas and a lot of kids, which is awesome. So, okay, is there any questions? Does anybody have any questions? No, okay. Would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve I-ready as the district academic screener and intervention for the cost of $45,518 for 3 years.
I will second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, let's vote.
Shannon Wilbon.
Yes.
Jason Stark.
Yes.
Kathy Klessner.
Yes.
Brian Locker.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Item 8.4, discuss, consider, and take necessary action to adopt NASB's proposed Arlington Public School Strategic Plan Framework for the 2025 through 2030 school years? Years, yes, anyway,
Yes.
okay. We talked about this at a
Next 5
retreat.
years.
We talked about this at a retreat, so what a lot, I feel like we had a really good retreat. We actually talked about a lot of stuff, which was nice, and dove into a ton of things. So obviously, we've all looked at it multiple times. So this is really just a place for us to get started. So NASB, too many acronyms, suggested that we adopt this, and then we also discussed during our retreat how we're going to integrate it into our board goals. There we go, thank you.
You're welcome.
So that's what we're doing here. So,
Yes, and so in addition to integrating, so there's like the 4 areas of focus. The academic learning, district building, climate and culture, resources, and board governance. So I will take these objectives here and these strategies and build them in. I started working on integrating them in board goals a little bit, but I will present those in July for you to review for board goals again. In addition to that, they sent me a nice Word document for us to use as we are making efforts towards, these strategies that we can build in, like, hey, on this day we did this, and here was the result of that. So it's a good template for us to build on for the future as well. So this is our starting point.
perfect, awesome. I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to adopt NASB's proposed Arlington Public Schools Strategic Plan Framework for 2025 to 2030.
Second.
Any further discussion? See none, let's vote.
Jason Stark.
Yes.
Kathy Klessner.
Yes.
Brian Locker.
Yes.
Shannon Wilbon.
Yes.
3. Item 8.5, discuss, consider, and take necessary action to increase the credit limit on the Pinnacle Bank credit card up to $50,000. So at the board retreat, we, our first order of business was to talk about computers and approve for purchase of that so that we could get moving on getting Dan enough time to get those ordered, get things taken care of this summer so that they're students. What we have then found is that the credit card limit was $30,000 roughly, right? $30,000, okay, $30,000 was our credit limit. Well, the computers and just different things that we use credit card for, I mean, that's really crippling for just our expenses. I mean, everything requires you to pay up front now. Nobody takes an order anymore.
Purchase order, yeah.
So especially with doing things, I mean, I think both of the things we did are through Amazon. So of course they're gonna require credit cards.
Yep.
Amazon Business, yes. So, we're running into a credit limit there. With the discussions with the bank, the credit card provider, they, said that yes, we can increase that limit, but they would have to have action, from the board approving that. So that's what we're here for, over that. My feeling on it is we are seeing this multiple times because first off, it's a $50,000 limit. Anything over $10,000, we as a board are going to see and have to approve in the beginning. And then we're going to see it again as it comes to the credit card. So that's kind of my feeling on should move forward with increasing the limit so that we can not have to make our wonderful people at school have to try to juggle, when can we pay this? Because we have to approve this and approve that, and then pushing things off, and it's just, I feel like the more we push things off and have to wait things out, things are gonna get missed. So
And it's not just like right now, it's not just because of the computers.
It's been an
happens
ongoing
multiple
thing.
times throughout the year, you know?
I'd like to add that a lot of it happens if we have groups that are traveling for nationals and things like that. They have to buy plane tickets, if they have to buy, if they have to make those larger purchases, it just sets us back maybe a month to then make the next purchase that we need. So it would just be nice to be able to keep making those purchases instead of having to wait until that, the bill is paid because we don't have enough to. And
Yeah.
sometimes plane tickets are cheaper at this point
Yeah.
than they
Yeah.
are, so
Yeah.
it would just free up some credit so that a lot of the things can be handled.
Are there any perks that go along with moving it up to 50? I mean,
Well, we do have, I mean, it is
interest rates
points,
or
I don't know if there's an interest rate
There is
or
no
anything
interest
like
on
that,
it.
but there are
Oh, cool.
points, so that, I mean, so we are able to frequently like purchase like staff laptops or different pieces of equipment, when we get like 4 vacuums for Lawrence last year, because the points add up when you use your card, and
Yeah.
they're actually, I mean, there's kind of like a points store where you can go
Yeah.
and purchase these things that you need for your school anyway, so we
Oh,
do end
cool.
up with some free things.
Nice.
For that, I don't know that increasing the limit changes the credit, but we always, I mean, we pay in full when we get our bills, so interest rate is, it's not like we're carrying a balance and not paying it off, and like you said earlier, I mean, these purchases are typically approved in advance, or approved through the budget process, or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
I'm going to make a motion to increase the credit limit on the Pinnacle Bank credit card to $50,000. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jason. Any discussion? Seeing none, let's vote.
As it was.
Yes.
Brian Locker,
Yes.
Sharon Wilmore,
Yes.
Jason Park.
Yes.
Wonderful. 8.6, discuss considering necessary action to engage with DOR for $10,000 at the campus future plan level of engagement. Okay, so,
I was honestly, as we met with DLR tonight, surprised with how much you actually get, for the
Yeah.
$10,000, it was quite a bit, actually.
good.
And I think a lot of that stems from the fact that they have all of our, like, floor plans and all of that work they would have to do so it makes it, be reasonable to get started with them. But I pulled up on the second page of the second document attached the actual contract, Article 1. So
Okay.
here it is, meeting with the facilitation with the administration, buildings and grounds committee, faculty, staff, students, and school family, future plan phases, include research and discovery, stakeholder engagement, and future plan documentation and deliverables. It means like this is what you're expecting at the end of this project, like a vision, space program, concept design, and total project budget, and then a process book to keep you moving. And he said this is not just like a one-time deal. Really, what we're going to share with you is like, this is like, maybe this is what you need now, but this might be what you should think about 10 years down the road, and that kind of thing as well.
In that first document, it says that, like, option 1, what we're looking at, so it says 2 design options, so they're gonna, is that correct?
Well, we haven't gotten that far in our talks with them yet, but like throughout this, by the time we're done, so in December, I don't know if that's what we're at, or if
Yeah.
that's by the time we're in January, we're talking to the community.
Got it. So on
But
the,
I
that
think when
first
you're ready
page,
to set out on a project, and when
Yeah.
you're ready to talk about funding that project, there will be 2 options for you.
which is awesome, because I mean, obviously the contract is important. But for them to give us all these things, and teacher interviews, the programming, design options, community engagement meeting, I think that should work. That's gonna be great, because obviously people are, keeps us moving and what we want.
Well, I think they're
Engaging
gonna
with.
come up a lot. I think the board needs to do a walk around with them,
Yes.
bounce ideas, chat, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that only makes sense with them, maybe the administration too. I mean,
Yeah.
kind of like we did with the other, it takes a lot of minds to.
Well, the more minds you bring together, the better ideas you get.
Yep.
So, awesome. Does anybody have any questions? I know we've been talking about this and trying to move forward and figuring out what that next step is, and here we are. So, does anybody have any questions on the engagement or the level. This is the base level with them. And like you said, we're still getting a ton of stuff from them. So anybody have any questions or comments? Okay, a motion? Anybody want a motion?
I'll make a motion to engage with DLR for $10,000 at the campus future plan level of engagement.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Shannon, for the second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, let's vote.
Brian Locker,
Yes.
Shannon Wilmot, Jason Art,
Yes.
Jessica Foster.
Yes. Great. Okay, 8.7, discuss, consider, and take necessary action to adopt policy updates from legislative action.
So,
Dr. Lewis.
yeah, well, the good news is you get to read them again in July. So if
Oh,
you
yeah, this is
haven't
the first
processed all of the information, this is first reading on these. So what I will call your attention to kind of make it a little bit easier to sort through is the very first document attached, which is the 2020 School District Policy Update memo. So the first couple of pages of this talk about the policies that were changed and what piece of legislation changed them, so why they were required to be changed. So that's the easiest way to process through these. For example, 1200, 4003, and 5401 are all about like employment practices and anti-harassment and all of those things. So they were changed because of the amendment 1617 to LD 150, which updated the Fair Employment Practice Act. And so there's a brief description there.
Yep.
So not significant changes. Policy 3131, 3132, these are internal controls, and they're all about purchasing, and one is very specific to the hot lunch program. Those are updated because of federal regulations governing grants and federal audit requirements, and that is then a federal law. So you can see it was 2 CFR statute 200.321. So that's why that one is updating.
And I don't remember on these, I looked at them before. On these policies, it states what statute, like why it is.
Yeah, at the end.
Right?
At
Okay.
All of those, yes.
So if
Yep.
there's any questions on all these additions and new things, go talk to your legislator.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any discussion on
State
these?
or local,
Yes.
federal or state, yeah. So there's quite a few on there. On the memo too, you'll also see some that will rescind next month and a couple that are suggestions. Some of them we've already adopted and some of them, they're just like suggested and we'll kind of filter through those, but there were no policies attached for those. So these basically are what came out of legislation. And again, a couple of them are in there that we pulled out. So the 5,000 that we reviewed earlier, the couple that we left out up there are new down here.
Perfect.
And coming out of that, just keep in mind that 6113, that'll be a change for us. That is the electronic communication device and cell phones. So we know that we're going to have to change how we operate when it comes to cell phone use. In our
And that'll be a handbook thing.
It will be
Not
a
a lot,
handbook thing.
really. I mean,
So you can, we can change, but the policy itself looks more restrictive, but there is administrative,
probably
yes.
already
Some of it we are
on the
doing,
way.
yeah. But it gives you the authority to make some, as directed by, administrative action or whatever. So we can decide ourselves, but that policy itself appears to be restrictive. And so, so we will do our best. Hey, we agree, we agree with a lot of the rationale behind it. Sometimes having those personal communication devices in the hands of students interferes with things, and they're trying to help us be able to prevent those things from happening.
Yeah.
Mr. Bingston.
Sometimes,
Chuckling.
good word.
Sometimes. So anyway,
And we'll look at these all.
we'll see him again in July.
Yeah, so if you, because there's a couple of new ones that I flipped through, I had questions on that I have
Yeah.
already gotten to talk to Dr. Lewis about. So if you do, just ask,
Yeah.
and we'll talk about them obviously next month too.
And some of them I need to process through with our admin team. We've got a meeting scheduled this week and we'll talk about some of these things and smaller things too, so.
Perfect.
Alright.
Okay, that is not an action item, that's great. Okay, moving on. 8.8, discuss, consider, and take necessary action to approve Twig Science K-6 pilot for the 25-26 as presented.
Yeah.
We are going to table that.
Yeah.
Because it was plain and simple, it was very, very expensive.
It was,
So-
yes, the pilot was expensive, but what was the bigger factor is they said, hey, before we decide if we're going to try this or not, can you tell me what it would cost to implement it if we fell in love?
Yeah.
And so Mrs. Wolf came to me with some numbers today, and I'm like, well, that is cost prohibitive. It would have
Mhm.
So we're kind of a little bit, not 100%, but a little bit back to the drawing board on this. So please, we're not going to take any action on this evening. Didn't know that until this morning. So
Yeah. Okay, do we need to make any type of motion
No.
on that? We
we're
just
not taking action.
sounds great. We are taking
We're just no action on that. Yep.
I'm sure it'll come back, but
Something
hopefully
will.
something that's not so expensive.
Something will come back.
Perfect. Okay, item 8.9, discuss, consider, and take necessary action to approve student request for early graduation. I feel like maybe instead of Dr. Lewis, this is actually a Mr. Kingston thing.
Yeah, and due to the, I won't present that document because it is confidential student information, but Mr. Kingston can talk to you about that later.
So we had an opportunity to have a conversation with the student that I'm sure you have the paperwork. The reality is they should have submitted their stuff to the counseling office by April 1st, something like that. We didn't talk to them until May. I made the decision that we would still be able to meet the board expectation in our policy to have it approved if you go forward with it by the June board meeting. So had a conversation, myself and Mrs. Toft, our counselor, had a conversation with the student, had a conversation with the student parent. Everybody is on board with wanting this to be a possibility for this student. So we would respectfully request that you consider that and approve the request.
Okay. I mean, as long as, obviously, you've already done your due diligence of figuring out if they can do this,
Yep.
if they apply, if they meet the requirements, yes. So that's great. The only thing that I hesitate on is that the guidelines for when they were supposed to do this are very clearly set in all. So if we allow one kid to, oh, I missed it by a month, but it's still really close, what is that setting up for the rest of the students that attend Arlington? That's the only thing that I worry about. It kind of becomes the whole thing like we had with teachers and getting out of their contract. Are we now setting a precedence that as long as you just take it to them, they'll probably approve it? So that's the only thing that I worry about. So, I mean, do we say, yep, let's go forward with it and we are done? We're not, if you don't meet the requirements or if you don't meet the timeline, that's too bad. Just like we're holding our staff accountable for those things, we also need to hold our students accountable for those things too. So, I mean, I just want to make sure we're not setting another, oh, it's okay. I mean, that's why it's in policy. So,
And we
Exactly
talked
what
about,
it's
making that a hard and fast target in the future, like, I'm sorry. And that's the first conversation you have with the student if they walk in the office on April 15th, or you missed the deadline.
Yeah.
And it was in the handbook, it was in board policy, so.
because I thought that was, when I saw it on there, I'm like,
Well, it's like acting on it by the
Interesting.
June board meeting is within policies, but applying after April 1st is not.
yeah.
So there's.
So like the
a couple-
school, because this was signed May 20th or request May 20th, whoever.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, it was late.
Yeah.
Just later in the year, that's the typical. So, okay. I'll make a motion to approve the student's request for early graduation. Is anybody would like to second it?
Second.
Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, let's vote.
Shannon Moore.
Yes.
Juice Nine.
Yeah.
Jesse Foster.
Yes.
Brian Moore.
Yes.
All right. Perfect. Okie dokie, that's the end of the meeting. We will adjourn at 8:28. Sorry for the longer meeting, I have lots of questions.
Culture, function, follow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me get this turned